So in next 25 minutes, we'll review the bony and the compartmental anatomy of the orbit, understand various pathologies in each of the compartments, and describe the imaging features and develop approach how to identify these. So coming to the bony orbital anatomy, the orbit is like a pyramid. It starts like a four-sided pyramid and posteriorly it becomes three-walled and ultimately ends in an apex. It is a fixed cavity which has approximately 30 cc volume, and any rise in intraocular pressure will result in disastrous complications. So coming to the walls of the orbit, laterally, anteriorly there is the zygomatic bone and posteriorly is the greater wing of sphenoid. Then the superior wall is formed mainly by the orbital plate of the frontal bone, which thins medially. Inferiorly mainly is formed by the orbital plate of the maxillary bone, and some contribution is by the zygomatic bone and the palatine bone posterior to the maxillary bone. And the medial wall is most important because it's the thinnest wall and it's vulnerable to traumatic injuries. So medial wall, we have the frontal process of maxilla, the lacrimal bone, and the ethmoid, and posteriorly is the lesser wing of sphenoid. Along the medial wall, there are two important canals. I had discussed this before. Anybody?
Anterior and posterior.
So you have anterior and posterior ethmoidal canals. These will have anterior and posterior ethmoidal neurovascular bundle. So these are the weakest points of the medial wall. Whenever during FAST surgery, if the surgeon injures these structures, then there would be hemorrhage. Coming to the important foramina of the orbit, so we have the superior orbital fissure, optic canal, and inferior orbital fissure. Superior orbital fissure is between the lateral wall and the roof of the orbit, and inferior orbital fissure is between the lateral wall and the floor of the orbit. And optic canal is located medially where the optic nerve ophthalmic artery passes through it. So, what are the contents of superior orbital fissure?
Superior orbital fissure is divided by the annular surgeon into three compartments. Superior to it passes the lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, trochlear nerve, superior ophthalmic vein. Through the annulus passes the oculomotor nerve and the nasociliary nerve, and through the inferior passes the inferior ophthalmic.
Okay. Abducens. No, yeah. The sixth nerve is inferior. And inferior orbital fissure connects the orbit with the pterygopalatine fossa, and mainly maxillary nerve is the important content. So coming on the actual CT images, so here we have the optic canal, which is located medially, and this is a superior orbital fissure which opens laterally. Again, another cut. This is superior orbital fissure. On MR, you will see fat signal here. Then coming further inferior, so the images are I've taken actual CT sections from superior to inferior. So this is the first cut where you have superior orbital fissure. Then comes the optic canal. Then further going down, this is the inferior orbital fissure. Inferior orbital fissure will communicate with the pterygopalatine fossa, and you all know all the communications of pterygopalatine fossa, right? So pterygopalatine fossa medially opens in the nasal cavity via foramen. Very good. And laterally into the
Infratemporal fossa by pterygomaxillary
fissure. Okay. Posteriorly and superiorly, it opens in the intracranial cavity through foramen rotundum, and inferiorly is the median canal, which connects with the foramen lacerum. Okay, so these are the same coronal sections. Here we have the optic canal where optic nerve is present. Foramen rotundum is lateral and superior compared to median canal, which is located medially. The periosteum of the orbit is called the periorbita. Posteriorly, it is fused with the dura in the superior orbital fissure, and also it is continuous with the dura of the optic nerve in the optic orbital apex and the optic canal. So what is because the dura is fused, the important point here is whenever there is malignant invasion of the orbital apex and if it requires bony excision, optic nerve has to be sacrificed because you cannot separate optic nerve and dura and the other superior other fissure. The meningiomas originating from the middle cranial fossa can easily extend into the orbit via this dura, or meningiomas can arise from the orbit itself from the dura around the optic nerve. So, coming to the compartmental anatomy of the orbit. So, first we have the globe. So, whenever you have lesion in the orbit, you have to divide them into compartmental anatomy. Only then the surgeon understands. So, first is the globe. The globe consists of the lens here. The lens divides the globe into anterior segment and posterior segment. Anterior segment is further divided into anterior and posterior chambers. So here is the lens, here is the anterior segment, posterior segment has a vitreous cavity, and the globe is lined by three layers. Everybody knows, right? Sclera, choroid and retina. Second is the optic nerve and the optic sheath. Optic nerve is divided into four segments. I'll come to that later. Then third compartment is the conal and intraconal. Conal is the muscles. Four recti, two obliques and one levator palpebrae superioris. And the intraconal compartment will have fat and the nerves and the vessels. And the extraconal is basically extraconal fat. Extraconal is anything located between the muscles and the bony orbital wall. So that will have mainly the lacrimal gland in the where? Superolateral. And superomedial is lacrimal sac, but not superomedial, it's inferiomedial. So this is the lacrimal gland and there is the extraconal fat. So that's the extraconal compartment. So now coming to the MR images from inferior to superior, these are the actual images. So whenever the inferior oblique is the smallest of all the muscles. So when you have the actual image, the first section in the orbit you will see inferior oblique muscle, so which is like triangular shape, and the recti are straight muscles, so they would go like this. This is the nasolacrimal duct, and here is the Meckel's cave and the cavernous ICA. Further coming up, we have now this would be the inferior rectus muscle. Here is the lacrimal sac. So remember, lacrimal sac is infromedial. Further up, we have the optic nerve. The optic nerve is divided into four segments. This is the intraocular segment. This will be seen only when there is papilledema. The second, the longest segment is the intraorbital segment. Then comes the intracanalicular, which is located in the bony orbital canal. And lastly is the prechiasmatic segment. So this is a prechiasmatic segment. Now here, when you see optic nerve, you will see the two recti muscle, the medial and the lateral rectus. Inferior we already saw. And superior rectus comes like this, whereas superior oblique is located superomedially, and it forms the it then turns medially and it inserts into the orbit. And this is the lacrimal gland located laterally. On the coronal images, again the same thing, but the recti muscles are seen very well. So you see medial, lateral, superior, and inferior rectus, and levator palpebrae superioris is located above the superior rectus. It is superficial to the superior rectus muscle. And here, this is the which muscle? Superomedial is superior oblique, and inferior oblique would be below the inferior rectus muscle. Okay, now coming to the imaging of orbit, MR is the best modality, but there are certain like for example, if there's foreign body, then CT is better. To look for calcification, CT has to be done, and in cases of to look for the bony orbital canal for fractures, traumatic injuries, to look for polyps, mucoceles, or any paranasal sinus pathologies, then CT is better. Now coming to the now we'll see pathologies according to the compartment of orbit. Okay, so we start with the globe pathologies. I've divided them as classified into children, adult, or mixed. So in children, most commonly there would be a lot of congenital anomalies. So there could be absence of globe or hypoplasia. Buophthalmos is large lobe, coloboma, retinoblastoma, most common malignant tumor in children. Then there can be Coats disease, persistent, differential diagnosis of leukocoria. Okay. Then in adults, choroidal melanoma is common primary tumor, and metastasis. Metastasis is more common than melanoma here. Then common in both would be retinal detachment, which is hemorrhage, foreign body, or vital pseudotumor can occur in any of the compartments, and thesis bulbi. Okay. Now coming to cases, so I want the exam going batch to start. So you just describe, okay?
Come close to the laptop.
Yeah.
Actually,
First see
T2,
the case, then go close to the laptop.
actual T2 weighted images and sagittal T2 weighted images of the brain have been provided. On the axial and sagittal sections, the posterior fossa is increased in size, and
Yes.
there is agenesis of the hypoplasia of the vermis and of the cerebellum, and also of the and also the cerebellum,
Yeah.
and this is associated with the associated cysts are also seen.
Where are the cysts located?
Periventral foramen of Monro,
Hmm.
and the other are periventral.
Peri or intraventricular?
Intraventricular, non-sag. They to be intraventricular cysts,
Hmm.
and the
How? Yeah.
the ventricles are parallel in orientation. That would suggest
And
agencies
on
of the
SAG,
corpus.
do you see anything?
This is the
Absence of anything?
when the corpus callosum.
Yeah. So,
So this is Dandy Walker with the agencies. of
and
the
how
corpus.
are the orbits?
Orbits are there are protrusions near the optic nerve. System of colobomas.
Yeah. And how is the brain, the gray matter?
Gray matter is thinned out.
How is this? What is this? All these?
These are heterotopia.
Yeah.
Gray matter.
So now you combine. Tell me all your findings.
Posterior coloboma and bilateral.
Coloboma. So
And,
basically, very good. She picked up all the findings. So this is actually a syndrome.
Last week only we have done this congenital
Acha. So what is a syndrome? Do you know? Does anybody know this? No. It's not feasible.
charge can have.
So basically, this is the globe is small. So there is microophthalmia. Then these are colobomas. There is protrusion at the optic nerve head. Here there is retrobulbar cysts. So colobomas are commonly associated with retrobulbar cysts. Then these are multiple choroid plexus cysts. Here there is absence of corpus callosum with high riding. This is Aicardi syndrome. With your cyst in the third ventricle, then the cerebellum is dysplastic, hypoplastic. See this? It's all dysplastic. The gray matter is disorganized, and here there is all heterotropia, subependymal heterotropia. So basically, this is Aicardi syndrome. So important here is you have to pick up the findings. Syndrome you will find on internet also, but you have to know what are the findings. Okay. So this is colobomas with microphthalmia. Um, so what is coloboma? It's a focal defect in the posterior globe at the optic nerve head insertion. The defect can be small, big, and it can be associated with retrobulbar colobomatous cysts. And common syndromes with this are Aicardi, Charge, and Meckel. Okay. Aicardi because the choroid plexus cysts are common. Cerebellum is dysplastic, and there is associated heterotropia. Okay, next.
Axial T1 and T2 images are provided.
Young male.
On T2 there is a hyperintensity seen in bilateral putamen.
Putamen. Where it is? Globus pallidus or putamen? Sure. Okay.
T1
T1, do you see anything abnormal or it's all fine? How are the orbits?
is some hyperintense signal in the left
Where?
right lens.
No, that's okay. That's asymmetric. Patient is asymptomatic. Is there asymmetry between the orbits?
The right.
Right one is smaller.
Or the left one is bigger? Okay. With this, what do you think? Young male, familial condition. So this is basically buphtalmos, and this is seen in NF1. These are FASI. Okay, so when a lot of times NF1 the patient would be asymptomatic. They come mainly for evaluation of optic nerve gliomas. Lot of times you see buphtalmos, one globe is large and multiple. I've not shown other images because then it's easy. So bilateral symmetrical hyperintense signal in globus pallidus is classic for NF1 FASI. Okay.
Those who could not make out which one is abnormal, on the left side, if you see, there is increase in the AP diameter. And
Huh.
the shape of the eyeball, it is oval, not round. So the right one is round and the left one is oval. So that makes like more prominently lefty, not abnormal.
Okay.
I mean, this is so prominent. You can
Next.
see the shape.
Axial and sagittal T2 weighted images have been provided. In the sagittal image, the optic nerve is tortuous and enlarged. Bilateral, the right-sided globe is deformed compared to the left.
Both, na? Both are similar, right? Acha, okay.
Optic nerve glioma.
Glioma? क्यों? Why? Where's glioma?
Morning glory.
Where is a 40-year-old male?
68 years. Step
And history भी है ना? High myopia.
Morning
What do
glory.
you see in high myopia?
elongation of the anterior-posterior.
So that is called what?
Pathologic.
Staphyloma. So this is very common. A lot of normal, patients will come with brain MRI and myopia. So patients having high myopia can have elongation of the AP diameter of the globe. So this is staphyloma. So it's characterized by thinning and stretching of the scleral and uveal coats of eyeball. Progressive myopia results in posterior staphyloma. It can occur secondary to glaucoma. Glaucoma is another important condition which can give rise to this. Scleritis, trauma, post-infection or post-surgery RP. Okay, so this is uniform enlargement. Okay, next.
Frontal, sag and coronal CT reformated images are provided. Calcification is seen in the right
Where it is seen?
inferior.
Ciliary.
See the history, acute onset blurring of vision.
Even you can see a ear spec.
This is a foreign body. Okay, so it's a I mean, you know, when you have acute onset, calcification is usually, if there is lesion or anything, it would be chronic. So this is radiodense foreign body in the globe.
You have to definitely tell which segment at least. You are not taking exact anatomy.
हाँ मतलब posterior segment of the globe, at least describe that much. Okay.
At least tell that much.
See here, you see, no? Okay. 70-year-old male with history of trauma, following which loss of vision in the right eye. Next.
Sagittal, coronal, axial T2 weighted images are provided. T2 weighted images provided in which there is a dislocation of hypointense, well-defined. Actually, dislocation of lens.
Yeah, very good. Where, how it is dislocated? Where it is gone?
The superior aspect.
Huh. So basically, it is superior and posterior. Now, sag, see sag. You see this line? You see this line? So the lens has to be normally located here. So it has gone up and posterior in the vitreous cavity. So basically, this is dislocation of the lens, and this is a normal left lens where see the location of left lens. This is traumatic dislocation of the lens.
Any syndrome in which you can see all dislocation.
And
Homocystinuria.
very good. I have marked.
Anjita.
Next.
Anjita.
Axial and coronal CT images of the orbit are provided showing a intraocular hyperdense lesion with foci of calcification within in the left posterolateral wall.
Why left?
Medial.
Right orbit है ना? It's left orbit.
Posterolateral aspect of the right orbit. Such as retinoblastoma.
Yeah. So in a young, in children, most common diagnosis would be, unless proved otherwise, this is retinoblastoma. Okay. So this is you.
In a case of
Continue. You only continue this.
Axial.
This is another
CT
case. Another case.
Axial CT images of the orbit showing reduced size of bilateral orbits with calcification in both the intraocular compartment. The optic nerve could not be visualized in the entire extent.
On the left side, it is confined only to the globe, or it is going out.
It is having extrascleral.
It is going in the retrobulbar region. No? So this is intraconal space, right? So basically, when you have retinoblastoma, so there can be unilateral, bilateral. What is trilateral retinoblastoma?
Any
Or-
tumor in the midline, cellular,
Or
supracellular,
supra,
fourth row,
yeah,
fourth row.
yeah. So basically, this was bilateral retinoblastoma. Now, retinoblastoma is most common intraocular tumor in childhood. 60% are sporadic and 40% are hereditary, associated with osteosarcomas and cutaneous melanoma. So trilateral, you all know it could be anywhere else in the midline, and quadrilateral when there is both globes with pineal region with supracellular region. When there is involvement of optic nerve or choroid infiltration, then these are important predictors of metastasis. Okay. Next. Who's next? 7-year-old male with leukocoria. Just describe the findings.
Axial and coronal CT images are provided. There is a hyperdense linear line
Yeah. Then what else?
extending from the optic nerve head to and there is subretinal collection.
Okay. So, in children, this
Coats
is Coats
disease.
disease. Very good. So basically, what is Coats disease? It is telangiectasia. Yeah, it's actually vascular malformation of the retina, and because of that, there is leakage of lipoproteinaceous exudates that can result in exudative retinal detachments. Usually, calcification is absent, but when there is calcification, it would be along the membrane. So you have to differentiate Coats disease with retinoblastoma because both will cause leukocoria, but here there will be absence of the mass. So these are some points how to differentiate. Retinoblastoma is less than 5 years. Calcification is common and there would be a mass like enhancement, whereas here linear and V-shaped retinal detachment, and the globe volume will be normal and symmetrical. Here the globe volume will be smaller compared to the other orbit. Okay, next.
Axial MRI.
See, if you know it is a T1 or a T2 gauge, you can say which side is normal and which side is abnormal.
Yes, left side is normal, ma'am. Right side is abnormal.
What is the abnormality?
Hyperintense is noted in the globe, mostly uveal melanoma.
Huh?
Melanoma. Hyperintense right.
You see something like this here, you see this triangular thing?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
Persistent hyperplastic.
Huh. So how melanoma? That is hemorrhage, no? Vitreous hemorrhage. So this is what? Persistent hyperplastic primary vitreous. It is projecting, no? That. So here what happens? The lens is displaced anteriorly. Why does it occur? Because there is persistent of the primary vitreous. So that therefore you have the Cloquet's canal which is persistent and it extends from the lens, posterior aspect of the lens to the optic nerve head, and you will see small globe flow. These are the other points how to differentiate. Okay. So other differential for leukocoria is retinopathy of prematurity. Usually here you would have history of preterm birth with oxygen supplementation, small disorganized eye with retinal detachments, calcification, etc., and toxocariasis or endophthalmitis, etc. Okay. This is easy. Spotter. Next. Huh?
Choroidal melanoma is hyperintensity on T1.
Which side is abnormal?
Is melanoma so common? Maybe it is common in Tata, it's not outside. Why you said melanoma? Melanoma bola na? What he said? Acha hemorrhage bola. Okay. But how is it? How is the shape? This is choroidal. So this is retinal detachment. And how is the optic nerve? So basically, this patient had optic neuritis along with retinal hemorrhage. You have to look at, like, if it is V-shaped, it is retinal detachment. It's, and the point apex is at the optic nerve head. So this is retinal hemorrhage, retinal detachment. Choroidal detachment is like this. This was choroidal detachment. It would be lentiform shaped and it would not end at optic nerve head. Okay. This next, yeah. And so one side is thysis bulbi and other side is cephaloma. Okay. And bilateral optic atrophy, because this is thysis. So there can be retrograde optic atrophy because of these things. Okay. Okay. Next.
Provided coronal cuts of the MRI of the
Coronal hai?
sorry, sagittal cuts of MRI of T1, T2 and post-contrast sequences. There is T2 hypointensity, hypointension enhancing vision seen, and T1 bright vision is seen in the superior aspect, arising from superior aspect of the choroid. Likely this is a uveal.
This is melanoma. So melanoma, you will be provided with contrast images also. So T1 hyper, T2 dark, and post contrast intense enhancement. Okay, and it would be mass like. Most common malignancy in the adults. Okay, next.
Axial T2 weighted images with bilateral fluid
yeah.
levels in the
So what is it?
subretinal hemorrhage.
Yeah, so basically this is subretinal exudates. This is commonly seen in hypertensive males coming with diminution of vision. And on fundoscopy, they would have cotton wool spots. So basically this occurs in uncontrolled hypertensive patients. A lot of times you see this is subretinal exudates. And it is bilateral, so you know. Okay, coming to the second compartment, optic nerve and optic nerve sheath lesions. I'll directly go to the cases. 7-year-old girl with gradual loss of vision.
Coronal T2-weighted images are provided. In second image, there is absence of septum pellucidum.
Yes. And what else?
Atrophy of left optic.
Which is a left optic nerve?
There, on the left side. That's what he's doing.
Like, show me now.
I cannot see here.
You cannot see.
So, this is optic chiasm. This is at the level of chiasm. See, you see this pituitary gland, this is chiasm. And this are the optic nerves, right? So, this is what. So, bilateral atrophy of both the optic nerves, everything is atrophied with absence of septum pellucidum. So, this is septo-optic dysplasia. And there can be associated anomalies with it. I mean, schism, midline abnormalities. Next.
axial flare images have been provided. There are presence of multiple cortical based hyperintensities.
Cortical?
Only cortical?
Cortical, subcortical, extending to the periventricular white matter. The optic nerve enhancement is present in the anterior portion. The intraorbital portion of the optic nerve shows enhancement.
What? NF1. ये क्या है?
Flare पे क्या दिखा रहा है?
What are these? Fascies. What are the location of fascie?
ये दिखाएंगे क्या फांसी के लिए कट? इतना ऊपर.
See, you just think this is what is this? Okay, you thought about glioma, but what are the other differential for optic nerve enhancement? Optic neuritis. That will be your one differential, right? Glioma mein there would be expansion, enlargement. So either this is optic neuritis or maybe you thought of glioma. How are these lesions? They are linear, round, radiating, perpendicular. Agar sash dikha de, it would be very simple, Dawson's finger is easy. And these are juxtacortical. These are classic MS plaques. Then your Viva will go in MS. How do you criteria of MS? This is MS, optic neuritis and multiple sclerosis. Okay, so normally NF1 fascie would be symmetrical and they would involve the grey matter. Means globus pallidus, dentate nucleus, bilateral MCPs maybe. Okay. And you have to always screen spinal cord to rule out plaques there. Next.
Axial.
And how will you differentiate brother from sister? On imaging. Fast.
Axial. Post contrast. Orbital images. Imaging of the orbital provided and sagittal cervical spine. T2 weighted images. There is
Is there any disparity in the enhancement of fascia?
left optic nerve.
Which is abnormal? Which orbit? Which optic nerve?
Right. Shows enhancement.
Then?
There is a long segment. Hyperintensity involving the cervical cord.
You have to describe. Then you said this. How is post? Yeah. How will you write your report? You will just write Sida, Tevick's disease. You have to describe, no? Because these patients will come for comparison. Post treatment, they will come back to you. So how is where the lesion is? How many segments involved? From which level to which level? Where is the enhancement?
Enhancement is optic nerve.
And
the patch involvement of the cord.
So basically there is expansion of the cord and it is involving the central cord with expansion of the cord extending from mid C2 level to C4-5 level. And so it's a long segment. How will you so what is this? What is your diagnosis?
Davis
Or
multiple. Differential.
Neuromyelitis optica. That's the other name. Okay. So how will you differentiate why this is not MS?
Short segment.
And
involvement is
In multiple sclerosis, usually it is short segment and there would be focal plaques, mainly involving the lateral funiculus or the posterior funiculus. I have not shown you the actual image, but on actual, if you have NMO, NMO would be central cord expansion of the cord, whereas these would be wedge-shaped plaques, MS. Okay. This is neuromyelitis optica, and there is NMO antibody. 73% of patients will be positive for that antibody.
NMO.
NMO, neuromyelitis optica. And what is the new differential MOG? Anti-MOG antibody. That's
What
so.
is anti-MOG, please?
Same
Tell us.
imaging, same
We are in oncology for a very long time.
So 73 patients of NMO, 73% of patients who have MR imaging like NMO will be positive for NMO antibody. But another 27, so researchers thought ki why 27%, why it is not seen. So then they discovered new antibody which is anti-MOG antibody. Anti-MOG antibody patients, they are in between, so they have better prognosis compared to MS, but and also compared to NMO, but they will behave like NMO. The imaging pattern would be like NMO, and in anti-MOG, the cord and the conus is more commonly involved, and optic nerve is also involved. And NMO, there are other brain findings. Anybody can tell?
Periventricular, periaqueductal.
Yeah, because it is aquaporin. The anti-NMO antibody is related to aquaporin 4. So various multiple lesions of NMO will also be seen along the ventricle, like along the aqueduct, fourth ventricle as well as the lateral ventricle. That would be absent in anti-MOG antibodies. Okay.
Myelin oligodendrocyte
Glycoprotein antibody. Even we have, which I had written ADEM. She came back after 5 years. I have that case. And then she was anti-MOG positive because ADEM the MR findings have to reverse. I mean, it is just one episode, but she continued to have the lesions were present, and then she was anti-MOG positive. Okay. This I have written. This is SLE associated. So you have to ask the history. Okay, so there can be signal and optic chiasm because of SLE. This is optic nerve glioma. See enlargement of the optic nerve, and those cystic areas are actually perineural arachnoidal gliomatosis. So this thing, and these will enhance. Okay. See how they enhance, and compared to the caliber of the optic nerve, this is optic nerve glioma. Okay, next.
Coronal CT images.
CT.
Coronal post contrast orbit image provided, left orbit. There is expansion of the optic nerve. Optic nerve sheath with mild enhanced.
This is optic sheath meningioma.
So
basically, yeah. So there is it's a dural based lesion, and you see the optic nerve very well. The optic nerve is preserved compared to optic nerve glioma, where the nerve will also enhance. That segment will enhance. So this is basically seen in NF2 in children and otherwise old females. Which tram track? That is in post-con.
T2-weighted image.
He's trying to say that the cleft of the CSF is not seen, but you have to see that the nerve is displaced.
Cleft will not be seen, no?
The nerve is displaced medially, like eccentrically, and then the whole of the space is occupied by the mass itself. So it cannot be optic nerve glioma.
No, with glioma or with meningioma, the cleft will not be seen because
fills up the
It fills up the space now when there is tumor. Next.
Coronal and actual post-contrast images of MR orbit are provided showing a diffuse nerve sheath enhancement of the left optic nerve in its entire extent. It's suggestive of optic neuritis.
This is perineuritis. Okay, neuritis would be involvement of the nerve. Perineuritis is the nerve sheath. So this is perineuritis. The treatment is ultimately anti-inflammatory, but it is different. Prognostically, both are different. So, yeah. So basically, it gives rise to tram tract sign. Okay, what are differences for tram tract sign?
बाकी लिखा नहीं तुम
So it was first described for meningioma, and then there are multiple differentials: sarcoid, metastasis, leukemia, lymphoma, pseudotumor, perineuritis, etc. Okay. Next.
Coronal axial. Surgical images have been provided with the coronal angiographic image and the angio.
We know.
Optic nerve tortuous. Tortuosity of bilateral optic nerve.
Very good. Along with prominence of
the intraocular part of optic nerve.
Height is also. And how? What is your on the Vino? What is? How are the transverse sinuses?
Stenosis.
So basically, what is this? Hypertension. So most commonly seen in middle-aged females, prominent subarachnoid space in the CSF sheath, then tortuosity of the optic nerves, flattening of the optic nerve head and posterior sclera. Here you see basic compression and decreased flow in the dural sinuses, mainly the transverse sinus. But you have to do venogram to rule out dural venous thrombosis also, because a lot of times thrombosis can also give rise to IIH. So this is benign intracranial hypertension. I have marked, so it's easy. Next.
Coronal and axial images of the orbit have been provided.
Everything is related to optic. Whatever is
Optic nerve on both the sides are normal, but that
the normal. अच्छा optic nerves.
Optic nerve.
अच्छा.
Sheath is
Actually ये T1 है. I should have given T2 ना.
It's nice better. अगर इसी पे बता रहे तो.
How is this? How is optic chiasm? It's normal.
optic chiasm is not normal. It is
Small,
small
no?
inside.
So actually even optic nerves were small. So basically optic nerve plus optic chiasm atrophy. So it is like moderate to severe atrophy. But I have shown this for a reason. Every other everything else is normal.
The globe is also an
What is this? What is this? What are these?
carotid.
So It is normal. So basically, there's absence of flow void, right? So this was actually both even the Petrus ICS there's no flow void. So remember, ophthalmic artery arises from ICA. You have to look for flow void when you're doing orbit imaging because cavernous sinus will always be seen. So patient. I mean, his cause of optic atrophy and loss of vision was actually vascular. It was never diagnosed. So, but this is important. Huh?
He said this
Acha, he said?
was not saying it
Very
loudly.
good. This we want to continue later. It's 9:45. क्या करना? We all have.
We can wait for 15 minutes.
Okay.
Those who want to be
Next.
Coronal and axial detuated images of the orbit are provided, showing the diffuse enlargement of the intraocular muscles.
Which muscle?
Medial rectus and inferior.
Inferior?
It's symmetrical also.
Oblique.
Inferior rectus. Medial
Rectus.
rectus and inferior.
Inferior rectus, na? Inferior oblique is below that. It would be below here. This is inferior rectus only. So medial and inferior. Then.
There is diffuse symmetrical enlargement on both sides.
So what it is?
Thyroid.
This is Graves' disease. Thyroid and what is the sign called? Champagne glass. No? Which what?
अरे ये तो proposal से ही लग रहा है मुझे पता कि तुम लोग सारे champagne की तरफ
So you have to remember I am slow. That is the way the muscles are involved. So inferior rectus most common, medial. Then you have superior, other recti muscles. Okay. Painless ophthalmopathy compared to, and how do you differentiate it from the pseudotumor? Here the tendon will not be involved. That's theoretical, but when the patient comes, it gets very difficult.
Painful. Orbital pseudotumor is painful.
Pseudotumor is painful. There would be
Usually you will not
headache,
see that much
and it's
enhancement.
acute. Thyroid is usually chronic. Huh?
Enhancement, if you see, you might see more in pseudotumor.
More in pseudotumor, right?
And even if it is unilateral, still your first defense should be thyroid.
Oh God.
वो साइन क्या था?
वो ना champagne bottle. Appearance of muscle and tendon is spared. The muscle is Anyways, here I've marked. So here basically this was acute onset ptosis. Now you see here ill-defined lesion involving only the levator palpebral. This is superior rectus. You can see superior rectus separately. So this is actually myositis, myositis type of pseudotumor. Okay. This is Tolosa Hunt when it is involving the cavernous sinus and the apex. So orbital pseudotumor is commonest cause of intraorbital mass in the adults. Acute onset, unilateral and painful. Thyroid, bilateral, painless, and chronic. And associated with other autoimmune conditions, it can be tumefactive or myositis type. When myositis is only muscle is involved, tumefactive can be globe, retrobulbar region, intraconal fat, extraconal fat, lacrimal gland, etc. And it is hypo to fat on T2, and it will respond to steroids. Okay. And you have to differentiate this from lymphoma. So lymphoma important is restricted diffusion. You have to take diffusion images in this case. And even lymphoma would be like diffuse, but painless. Another differential is sarcoid. Okay.
Devanji.
Axial post-contrast and T2 fat side images are provided. You can see there is
I had shown this case. I don't know. दिखाया था ना? अच्छा, I don't know, maybe. What do you see?
There is enhancement along the medial aspect of the medial rectus muscle. And anteriorly there is in the anteromedial corner there is dilatation. There is venous
Ill-defined lesion, no? Ill-defined lesion along the
medial aspect of the.
This entire thing is a lesion. And here there's enhancement.
Posterior to the orbit also.
It's where is it? Yeah. Here it looks extra, no?
Intra and extra
both.
You see that it's there also.
See here, this is the muscle, right?
Yeah.
And so it is here, so it is extraconal, plus involving the muscle and plus extending little in the intraconal space. So.
And then anteriorly also you can see the intraconal component.
Yeah, and यहाँ पे भी enhancement है, retrobulbary, diffuse ill-defined lesion. हाँ, yeah. So then because the girl also had hemiparesis, so then there is this brain imaging.
There is a periventricular flare hyperlipsy and the trigone and the occipital horn. And there is it will be in favor of Charles Weber.
But what? Describe what is this?
That will be
there are multiple vessels, right? So this is actually Storch-Weber syndrome. Storch-Weber syndrome, remember, always do orbit and you will see some sort of vascular malformation. So that was capillary hemangioma. Capillary or cavernous? So it was actually capillary hemangioma, and these are transspatial. They would go into multiple compartments. There would be, they won't be restricted only to one compartment. Okay, next.
Axial T1, T2 images of both orbit, contrast enhanced also. T1 hypointense, T2 hyperintense, well-defined rounded lesion is seen in the intraconal compartment. Wetting the muscles, it shows diffuse enhancement. Few flow words.
Most common vascular lesion in an adult? Cavernous hemangioma. So intense post-contrast enhancement, solitary well-defined lesion. See, just compare capillary hemangioma versus cavernous. Capillary was ill-defined, going everywhere. Here it is so localized. And syndromes would be Maffucci's and blue rubber bleb nevus syndrome. This is cavernous hemangioma. Okay. This. So you don't say Varix for any case, okay? Varix, they will provide you with prone images. This patient was, when we did prone scan, you see how here it looked almost kind of normal on supine. And prone, there was filling up and his entire eyes had become red. So this is venous varix, okay? So patient will say swelling comes and goes, increases with coughing. This is venous varix. Next.
It has to be in sequence now. That is only left now.
Okay, so this is venolymphatic malformation. Again transfacial involving multiple compartments, then multiple small cystic areas. There would be presence of fluid level, phleboliths may be present, and usually it would not enhance much because mainly there would be cystic spaces.
Very slow.
Yeah, very slow flow. So this is like venolymphatic malformation. Next.
Coronal T1 and T2 images are provided. Shows the T1 hyperintense lesion is seen in extracoronal region of the left orbit. Right between. It is T2. Centrally, it is T2 hypointense, and one another T1 hyperintense lesion is seen in extracoronal region of the right orbit.
So what would be T1 bright?
This can be dermoid.
Bilateral. Dermoids are usually midline, no?
Lipo. But both said.
But how is T2?
T2 is hypo.
This is actually fat sat. मतलब ये stir image है.
Okay.
Because
so
orbit we always take stir. You know, because you have to suppress the orbital fat.
So it's not.
So this is not fat, right? Hemorrhage, melanin. I mean, your differential would be that. But so then we have the other images.
CT है
No, this is MR.
नहीं CT है.
CT है, but अभी इसमें बोलो ना. See, it is lobulate. Whenever you have such lesion, now fat is ruled out. So you have to think of hemorrhage. So this is hematoma. And in child, hematoma, you have to do CT to rule out fractures. Okay. So then we did.
But you didn't give history. I asked trauma की history.
हिस्ट्री दे दूंगी तो क्या मीनिंग, हम लोग को भी नहीं मिला. And then we kept asking.
And then she said yes.
Then she said,
एक बार मम्मी ने मारा.
स्कूल में झगड़ा हुआ था. So you know it's like that. So see on CT. So you have the fracture. So these are extracoronal hematomas and yeah. So and there's calcification of the walls. You see, and then retrospectively, if you go behind, you see this. There is hemosiderin staining. This is so it's like subacute hematoma. T1 bright, T2 bright, T2 heterogeneous. So subacute orbital hematomas. Okay, so you have to. You know, like we didn't know what it is, until we did CT, we realized, oh, this is fracture with hematoma. Okay. This I have shown, I have taken from articles. So, whenever you have enlargement of superior orbital vein, ophthalmic vein, remember it could be either thrombosis of cavernous sinus or it could be fistula, CCF. So, continue करो कि जाने दो. I have was. Maybe I'll come later again.